Okay. Right, good morning everyone. It's 11:45. Thank you so very much to join us. We'll get started. So, my name's Robert Richardson. I'm the Chief Executive of the Institute of Hospitality, and I am delighted to be here this morning talking the creation of the next generation of hospitality leaders with some fantastic examples of hospitality leadership today. So, we've got 45 minutes. We've got a lot to cover. So, I'm going to ask my panel going furthest to closest to introduce ourselves. So over to you.
Good morning. It is still good morning. My name is Oliver Brown. I'm the General Manager of Wivenhoe House Hotel. Wivenhoe House Hotel is the hotel which is in partnership with the Edge Hotel School in the University of Essex in Colchester, North Essex. And yes, very pleased to be here and join the panel.
Thank you very much, Oliver.
Good morning. My name is Daniel Pedreschi. I'm the Vice President of Operations for the PPHE Hotel Group, more commonly known as Park Plaza. I've got 9 hotels currently open, another one opening imminently. So later today, I find if I get the key tomorrow or next week, and that will be the Art Hotel in Battersea. So talking about recruitment and building new managers is very important to me because we've still got 160 to recruit. In addition to the 2,000 team members we have employed already, 900 of those are in a special company we formed for, we call accommodation services, and they look after our housekeeping.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sirba, and I am General Manager of the Bodmin Jail Hotel, which is a very young hotel that's been opened last year in May, and we are part of Tudor Hotel Collections, which is very young hotel collection with another 2 hotels coming on board very soon. So yes, recruiting and bringing up the new leaders is vital for us.
Fabulous. Thank you very much, everyone. And just before we get started, Oliver, something quite special happened to you here last night, didn't it?
I was speechless. I think that's what was quite special. Yes, last night I was given an outstanding contribution to the industry award at the the Independent Hotel Show last night. Yeah.
Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that really does deserve a round of applause.
Thank you. Thanks for that, Robert.
You're welcome, and I hope the speechlessness doesn't continue because we've got about 43 more minutes to fill. Okay, so let's get started. Now, when we met to talk about today, the first question we had is, we talk about the next generation of hospitality leaders, but what does that actually look like? So, Anna, can we put that to you first, if you don't mind?
Of course. Well, it's amazing and it's so diverse. We've seen yesterday the amount of talent and the GM of the Future Award, the people who were applying and the winner. Oh my God, it's great, and it's great to see the talent, and it's great to see the passion and thrive in hospitality. However, we have challenges, and of course it's not as bright and shiny for all of us probably. Yeah, we have, probably everyone would agree with me that over the last few years, we see that it's not that easy to recruit and retain and inspire. So, and yeah, we need to lead by example, and from that, of what I've seen, it's the best way to go, just to show how great it is to actually be in hospitality, work in hospitality, what you can achieve, how quick you can achieve everything, and where you can be. Yeah.
Thank you. I think that's a good point. And we'll come back later to the GM of the Future, if we may. Daniel, I'm just going to come to you with the same question, because I know you guys at PPHE do an awful lot in talent development. So what do you think the next generation of hospitality leaders would look like?
Well, to paraphrase very poorly, ask not what your employees can do for you, but what you can do for your employees. Everything has been turned completely on its head in terms of leadership. The funnels, the channels, the normal ways we used to get talent coming in, they've all been disrupted. We have to be much, much better. We have to be proactive. We have to take control. One of the examples we've done within PPHE is it's now a key metric for all of our GMs in terms of their balanced scorecard. We take retention and development to their team members. They get exactly the same percentage of their bonus for that as they do for delivering GOP, because we've recognized that without the delivery, the creation of the managers, the creation of that new talent, then it's not sustainable in the future.
I think that's a very good point. I mean, my past before I became the chief exec of the institute was a hotel general manager, and I think if I'd have known that 2 years ago, I probably would have put that in my team's KPIs. So thanks for giving me that a little bit late. And Oliver, we'll come to you with the same question.
Yeah, I think they're already here. The future, they're ambitious, demanding, curious. And they're out there already, and we have to, if we haven't already changed, we need to change, and we need to work very differently with this new generation of hotelier. I do think what you say, Daniel, you've got to listen to them, you've got to talk to them. You might have to bend over for them, you know, you might have to do things slightly different. It's a very, very different workforce out there, and it's up to us to change because they're not going to change. I work with young people every day, and I'm fascinated by their confidence, their drive. You know, they don't want to sit still. Don't put them in a job. Don't put them on a training scheme and stick them in one department for 3 months. They're going to get very quickly bored. You know, you've got to keep them moving, got to keep them excited, and if you don't, you lose them. I honestly believe that. I think they'll look over their shoulder and go somewhere else.
And just staying with you for a minute, Oliver, if I may, what do you see the role of educators being in creating that next generation of leadership?
I made some notes on this one, if you don't mind. I'm going to pick this
No,
up.
sure.
But, yeah, I mean, I think it's up to the industry to certainly engage with educators. It's easy for me to say because I sit with education every single day. And I kind of understand what educators, in particular the Edge Hotel School, are doing. I look back, though, to my previous career. I've been 8 years doing what I'm doing there. My previous career in London for 21 years, whilst, you know, I went to Westminster College and University of West London, that sort of thing, to do the odd speech. I didn't really understand what educators were doing. And sadly, educators get a bum rap because, you know, they're delivering these unwork-ready students. I think it's up to the industry to engage with education. At the same time, I do think it's the educators' role to ensure that they are preparing these young people for the workplace. And it needs to be much more done to prepare them. In the course at the Edge Hotel School, it's a very vocational, very on-the-job learning, and so they are prepared to go into the workplace. But that's one college in the UK like that. The rest is pure classroom stuff, and yes, it's going to take them an awfully long time to sort of induct and orientate themselves into the workplace straight out of university, straight out of college.
Okay, and I'm just going to move over to you, Daniel, on the same topic. Now, I think I'd be right in saying PPHE is a huge advocate of apprenticeships. So how do you feel the role of apprenticeships can inform the talent of tomorrow for us?
I think the first element of our journey was the understanding that education is continuous. When I left hotel school, I was absolutely delighted. I burnt my books, broke the ruler, away I went, knowing I was never going back into education again. Couldn't have been happier. Move into operations. Now it's continual learning. And again, going back to what Oliver said, it is that hungry appetite. I've got a 21-year-old and a 16-year-old. They take delight and queue up in the kitchen to pull me apart and call me out. Okay, that's just the nature in terms of younger people and what we need to do. Apprenticeships, it's continual learning. The most interesting thing for us is, and again, back to the initial heading, and we're talking about leaders. So thankfully, apprenticeships have made the break from absolute just technical and skills-based. There's a realization that assists your education and an entire journey. And again, like Oliver, I just took a couple of notes. So we've got 5 commie chefs, 6 engineer apprentices. Great, we thought that's fantastic. They're coming through the system. We're supported by the educators, great partnerships with the local colleges. We're using partners who specialize in that. But the thing I was most interested in, we've got 12 level 3s in terms of team leader. We've 7 level 4s in hospitality managers, and we've 6 level 5s in terms of operations managers. But that's a challenge. And again, I met with all of my GMs and the leadership team yesterday. I'm meeting tomorrow in an all-day workshop with all of our operations managers and hotel managers, and they all have to complete a learning log. It's part and parcel of that. And again, the poor old GMs, because nobody likes a poacher turned into a gamekeeper. I know exactly how to squeeze them. Part again of their balanced scorecard next year that I announced this year is the development of their managers with their academic qualification. We met with some of that. I mentioned earlier, we have a complete new company, about 900 people in housekeeping. I met with all of the leadership of that last week, and in that room with 35, we now coordinate all of their moves. The people within that company don't say which hotel they work in. We coordinate that, and that's part of the management team there, and it's all done in terms of their development. But when I spoke to somebody who started her journey as a roommate 2 years ago, she's now an assistant housekeeper, and I told her my expectation was that she's got to get a level 3 started this year, and I want to see her get a degree. The shock in her face in saying, oh my God, the employer is giving me this, not suggesting it or anything else, but they're providing a framework, and they're doing that. That's how we've got to, A, develop the leaders, but it's also about how do we retain them. And the whole thing about being, previously within our company in particular, we were passive. We were passive in the process of people growing and developing. Now we're absolutely active. When we do our talent review meetings, if the manager doesn't have a clear plan for the development, education, further training of the individuals, we don't sign off their document. Yeah, that's part and parcel. So, as usual, short question, very long answer, I'm afraid, Robert.
Well, I think a very, very good answer, so thank you. And that really leads on quite nicely to the thing I really want to know. And I'm going to come to you for that, Anna, if I may. So what do we think the leadership talent of today should be doing to nurture the leadership talent of tomorrow?
I would say leading by example, showing what you do, showing how passionate you are, what you want to do for the industry, what do you do for the industry. And yes, following on Danny's comment about you see the person, you see the talent, and sometimes it's these people who are very uneasy to manage. They those who always ask you so many questions, they disruptive, but you go and you talk to them and you bring them because these are the people who challenge you, and they're so passionate. When you make them to be passionate about what they do, they're very influential. So when we become influential in our industry, then we kind of pass that information, and it goes from all of the levels across, and it goes back to the families, and it's changing the perception, it's changing the idea of actually I don't want to go to work just the summer, I see it as a career.
I think you're right. I think leading by example, it's an old adage, but it's as valid today as it ever was. So Daniel, I'm going to just move that over to you. Do you have any remarks on what Anna's just said?
No, it's exactly the same. It always astonishes me when I'm talking to junior team members and when I meet them at their induction. They have no idea of their future potential. They don't know what opportunities are available for them. They don't know what they can do. And again, when they're in role for 6 months, 9 months, part and parcel, it's actually plotting that for them to say, this is what you can do. A great example we had yesterday. So reception at the moment, any of you frontline, no, it's absolutely brutal. Customer expectation, levels of aggression, customer behavior's changed. It will establish again. So the receptionists, we're churning through them. And we've just said it's unacceptable that we're not giving them an out. So now what we're doing is we've actually got a plotted career path. I signed off the poster yesterday, which says you start as a receptionist, but within 6 months, this is your next level. Within 12 months, that's your next level, and highlighting it then in terms of moving into administration, moving into revenue, moving into sales. And the great thing is we've got enough history now where we're showing plotting that career path for them and putting pictures of people who've done it already. So they're able to look at it and kind of go, Mayor, I didn't realize you started off there, because people only see you in your current role. So I think about that again. It's about, I go back to the proactive. We can't be passive. Yeah, we absolutely have to be active in that.
Okay, no, that's great. And Oliver, I see you're nodding along there. So would you have something you'd like to add?
Well, I think for me, it's about that sort of letting them get on with it, empowering them to get on with it, but keeping them on a rein that you know you can just pull in when you need to, because they do want to get on and run the place or run an operation, that sort of thing, but they are still looking for that safety net. Am I doing a good job? And so you're right, meet with them and speak to them regularly. I think that this is kind of the things that I'm thinking about here.
And in your business, which is obviously very heavy operational, but you also have a huge educational element to it.
Yeah.
How do you marry the two together?
We haven't got enough time to talk about that, I don't think. I run Wivenhoe House. It's a commercial operation, and that is essentially what I'm employed to do, is be the general manager of Wivenhoe House. And the hotel school, we have a service level agreement between us to provide the workplace learning for the students who come in on rotations. My team, therefore, have a completely different role, I suppose, than any other hotelier, because they've also got to look after the students, make sure they're having fantastic experiences at levels 4, 5, and 6. At levels 4, the students are like rabbits in the lights. They don't know what they're doing. Level 5, they think they know everything. You probably know this, and they want to be the next general manager and that sort of thing. Level 6 is when they really blossom, and they've got a lot going on in the education, but they hold the keys to the hotel, the duty manager's phone. They do some night shifts and that sort of thing. So they integrate very well into the organisation, into the hotel.
Okay, and that leads on really nicely to something I just want to throw about the panel for a little bit now. So I think as an industry, we are very, very good at creating leaders at young ages, as Oliver's just alluded to. And even more so now, we have a talent shortage. So it's fair to say in some instances we are fast-tracking people into leadership roles. My question, what I'm really interested in, is when we do that, when we advance people quickly, how do we ensure their skills, their emotional intelligence, their maturity is sufficient to the expectation and the demands we're going to put on them? So I'll stay with you at the start with that, Oliver, if I could.
It's actually really relevant to me at the moment. I've got a chef that we promoted to sous chef about 10 months ago, that sort of thing, who nearly left us recently. And I got him in the office, and we were talking about where he was and what he was feeling and why he wanted to move and that sort of thing. And it basically ended up after a 45-minute conversation with me saying, "I'm really sorry. I failed you." And the reason why I said that to him, and by the way, he stayed with us, is because we didn't talk to him. We didn't give him our time. We didn't help him in his first management position. We didn't sort of provide, that safety net that I was talking about just now. We didn't provide that to him. He was. It's been a very difficult time in kitchens, and our head chef was off for some time with COVID as well, and so he was left to manage, and he really didn't have the tools. So yeah, I failed. We failed as an organisation. We needed to give him a lot more time, and we didn't. And because it's so daunting to get your first management position, and especially if you know that, if you think there's nobody you can talk to. So yeah, that was it.
If it's helpful, when I got my first general management position, I spent 3 weeks walking around my hotel thinking, "Oh my God, they've given me this. Why?"
What do I do?
It's very humbling. But that's really a good point you make there, Oliver. And how do you bring that back? So when you're turning around to someone saying, "I've failed you," which is actually quite a massive, quite honest statement to make.
Yeah.
Where do you go from there?
Well, we do exactly what I've just said, and so
Yeah.
I'm now meeting with Chris on a very regular basis, at least once a week. If it's 5 minutes or half an hour on a particular subject. I mean, our head chef is doing a good job in telling Chris to get on now and run the kitchen in his absence. But he a very proud young man, and he didn't feel as though he could ask the head chef, "What do you think about this? What should I do about that?" I have no problem in helping him with that sort of advice. And as I say, he's still with us, so he must be in a good place. And as I said, it doesn't take much. It doesn't take much of my time to be able to do that with him. So
That's good. I think that's a great example. And I'm just going to come to you, Anna, with the same point. So in your business or businesses that you've worked at, how do you ensure that people's skills, people's maturity are up to the demands that we place on them in the businesses?
Well, I probably will second the same thoughts. We talk to them, we guide them, and we make sure that there is a conversation, there is a feedback. And I think this is where we fail sometimes. We just get on with the job and we just do it, and then we find out that there is a hole here, and we never filled it, and we never spoken about the problems. So this is one of the things that I put in my diary, just to go everyone who I have in a team, just basically just printing the list and thinking, okay, do I need to talk to this person, or should I talk to my manager, to my HOD to consider maybe this person needs to be trained or retrained, or there needs to be some kind of additional mentoring, for example.
Good. Okay. And I'll just come to you as well, if I may, Daniel. In PPHE, I know you do an awful lot with youth engagement and entry-level talent. So, again, the same question.
Yeah.
What would...
I loved Oliver's story in terms of the difference between level 4 and level 5, in terms of level of expectation. And that's something with the workshop we're having tomorrow with the operations managers and the hotel managers is precisely that. It's on their journey to become general managers. So the very first thing we did was I gave them all a general manager's job description. And I gave them the success criteria of a general manager, and I asked them to do a self-assessment. And it came as absolutely no shock. Some of them should be my boss, never mind my role, in terms of their expectation, but there's no issue with that whatsoever, because again, it's giving them a voice. It's listening to them. So what we're doing now is, in the workshop tomorrow, they've all given themselves a score, they're working on that, so they will all get a personalized learning and development plan. They'll all get personalized targets, and we will set the pecking order. One of the things, the great thing, and I know I'm in a different scenario insofar as I have the luxury of having lots and lots of properties, but the easiest way to manage multiple properties is put everything on a table. Yeah, everybody hates being on the bottom. Yep. Yeah, 90% of my achievements and activities by putting it all on a table. So first of all, understand it, then you measure it, then you put it on the table. But the great thing, and I know in 6 months, every single one of those 10 hotel managers or operations managers will be significantly better. We'll have much more commitment to them and from them. And even, I have no issue with people leaving my organization. Our president has a great thing. When somebody goes, he sees them individually and says, you know, you're allowed to leave once. Go on your next stage of your journey and then come back to us.
Fantastic. And just keeping with the theme of development, how do you think mentorship plays a part?
Again, I was too stupid growing up in my career, okay, to know that I was being mentored. I had some fantastic mentors. I was just saying, Alan and I worked together as trainee managers in 1988 in what was then the London Tower under Owen Dillon. He was the world's best mentor before mentorship had even been understood. I was too stupid. I didn't understand it. It's massive. Dale Carnegie has just published, he said 79% of this generation are asking for mentorship, but only 37% of them have it. We know yesterday, one of our reps, again, a master inholder, made an appeal. So on the mentorship program in there, they've actually got more mentors than mentees. So the general managers understand the massive power of mentorship, but we haven't been able to get that message through there. So whether it's too formal, and I think part and parcel of it is the informality of being a mentor. Back again to Oliver's point in terms of talking to Chris in the kitchen. Whether Chris knows it or not, he's being mentored. Yep. Yeah? Oliver is changing his direction, changing the expectation, changing how he deals with them. So whether you label it, and some people, again, lots of people who are operational and technical will shy away from anything that has a badge of being formal learning. Yeah, you know, yep. We all bring our baggage to a table. However, within that sort of structure and how it's managed, but no, a massive, massive place for be it formal or informal.
I completely agree with you. The Institute of Hospitality has a fantastic, and it is a plug, fantastic mentorship scheme, and our stand's just over there if anyone wants to sign up. And actually meeting the people that have benefited from that scheme and hearing their testimonials is fantastic. Now, Anna, we were chatting earlier, and you were talking about the fact you had a mentor, and I don't know if you noticed, but when you did, you had a big smile on your face. So that makes me think it's a positive experience. So do you want to just talk about how that's benefited you?
I have multiple, and I think you and everyone, when you cooperate and you can get mentor from anywhere, like it can be your colleague, it can be somebody at education, anywhere, official, unofficial, but when you communicate, when you ask questions, when you talk, that's mentoring. I was trying to go to my employees and picking somebody and trying to talk to them and mentoring them without them maybe realizing that it's a mentorship, but then it's growing into collaboration and communication that actually we can say yes, it is mentorship. And my mentors, yeah, I do have a smile because anytime I can pick up the phone, I can ask the question. I'm not stressed to ask the question. I know there is no stupid question. And I go from there. Yeah.
Okay, great. And just staying with you for a moment as we're talking about the development of future leaders, this time last year, you won the GM of the Future award, I think.
I did,
You
yes.
did, yeah. So I think another round of applause. And a year later, you are in your first GM's role, which is fantastic. So you have gone from a future leader to a leader. So if you had to go back to 1 year ago and speak to the Anna that won the GM of the Future award, what piece of advice would you give her?
Oh, my public speaking skills, that would be... yeah, so I didn't really believe until probably 6 months later or 10 months later that I actually got it. Obviously, there was quite a lot of attention after the awards. I would definitely say don't. I just said I can pick up the phone and call anyone, like my mentors, and ask the questions. But sometimes I still worry that, oh, shall I? Maybe I will bother this person. Maybe I'll take the time. No, just do it because it's important. If it's important, that means you can help somebody else. And now being in the position of general manager, yes, as you said, you were walking around the hotel like, oh, they're giving it to me. I kind of had the same feeling when I walked in just to the first round of interviews, and I was like, they really want to consider me for this. And now I'm doing this, and I love it. I love it. Sometimes it feels like a lonely place, and I close the door to the office, and I think, okay, I need to know maintenance, I need to know IT, I need to learn everything and how the pipe runs in a hotel and what they built. But yeah, I think it's a great experience, and I can see my team actually looking at, and it's a great benefit.
Good. Good. Well, that's a very good answer, and I think the Anna of a year ago would have liked to hear that. So, okay, so moving forward, I think lately I'm hearing, certainly when we talk to our members, that more and more people want to work for people that reflect their values. Does the current way of working, do we think, need to be revised to ensure that our businesses are reflective of our future audience? And I'm going to go to you, Oliver, because I think you've been quiet for too long today.
Yes, I think to answer that straight away. I don't think there's ever been a more important time to be mindful of the needs of the younger generation, should I say, those that are entering the industry. I've already spoken about it. They need to be listened to. They've got to be given a voice. They've got to feel as though they're being heard. You don't have to do everything they ask. And in fact, I'd say don't do everything they ask. But you got to understand them a lot more. Understand what drives them. What moves them forward? And I do think the older generation needs to think very quickly about the new generation and how they adapt their businesses for them.
Good.
I think it's happening. I do believe it's happening.
I agree with you. I think it's happening. I think there's a lot of mileage in having businesses that people can see themselves in. And if you feel you can belong to that business, I think you will excel. And I think just talking to you, Daniel, hearing what you've told our audience today, you do a lot of that very well at PPHE. So would you like to have any comments on that?
Yeah, look, I can still remember just over a year ago when I interviewed a prospective operations manager. And at the beginning of the conversation, before about what's my job, what's everything else, he held me to account on our green credentials. Now, I was just trying to keep the lights on. It was in the middle of COVID. I wasn't concerned. My primary concern wasn't in saving the planet. However, it was his. So my takeaway from that was we need to just align ourselves in terms of the new values. So much so, I spoke to somebody from our L&D department yesterday. I've told everybody, 2023, we're back to normal. Okay, forget all the excuses, forget everything you've done. We've got to get back to normal. And part of getting back to normal was we're starting the new eco committees, we're starting all of that coming up. We've got a front office shift leader is headed up the eco committee in a hotel. She joined us 3 weeks ago.
Wow.
But that for her is absolutely fundamental. So it was interesting when you were asking the question about do we have to change. If you haven't changed, then the conversation's over. Back to Anna. The Daniel of me 3 years ago, I wouldn't recognise him because that was what was required for then. In terms of what's required for now, forget it. If you were operating like that, you're dead. Somebody else is eating your lunch.
I agree, and the feedback we're hearing is if a candidate has a choice between two jobs and it's a level playing field, but job-based sustainability policy or EDI policy is more aligned with their values, that's going to make the move. And I think you're very right in what you say. So, Anna, can we ask the same question of you?
Yes, and as you said, if there are two jobs, and for example, they even in different industries, because at the moment we're fighting to get people into hospitality, and if you compare it to travel, let's say, there is a great PI about you go and you have this cool office and you have the kitchen which looks amazing and you have all of the fresh fruit there and et cetera, and you don't do the, 12-hour shifts, and then try to pursue that person to come to work in your hotel. So we have to make sure that we look after our staff the same way as we look after guests. Is my staff room looking great, or it look dirty and not nice? Because this is what I've seen sometimes. Like you go and it's a dumping ground. No, you don't want to go there. You want to have a nice environment when you can have a cup of tea. What shifts are you doing? Like we moved with our HODs duty manager shifts, for example. We don't have duty manager as a role, but historically you used to do early and late shift, which finishes at 11, and you always struggle to get somebody to stay there until 11 o'clock. Yeah. So what we've done, we've just got night managers doing 12 hours, 4 on, 4 off, which works perfectly for them, and they're doing 7 o'clock in the evening until 7 o'clock in the morning. And then late duty manager finishes at 7. So we have an overlap between 7 in the morning and 7 in the evening, and it's 2 managers, and all of the HODs all of a sudden wants to do it because they don't mind to finish at 7. So it's little things that actually going away from classic approach that we do every year, like, oh yeah, it's always been like that, we've always done it that way, and trying to actually look a completely different way. How would the travel industry do it? How would the tech industry do it? And why do young people want to go there? Why everyone wants to be a blogger? Why everyone wants to go and travel? You work in a hotel and you can travel, and you can get exactly the same benefits. It's just making sure that message gets passed.
And
Yeah.
you're right, it really resonates with me what you say. The guest experience and the team experience should be as important as one another, should be on the HOD agenda, should be on the boardroom agenda, so I agree. Right, at this point, we've got about 10 minutes left, so before we wrap up, I'd like to reach out to the floor here for any questions. So I think we've got one of the lovely team at the back with the mic, so if anyone would like to ask a question, please raise your hand. Or be really shy, and we'll finish early.
Hi. Yeah, a lot of interesting thought there, and I think for most of us here, it's reassuring as well to think that you're not just you with those own thoughts. But Daniel, a very good point there that you raise about KPIs for your managers. It's not just about making money; it's about their learning and development, but it's about how do they get their junior staff to get trained up. And what kind of KPI would that be then to have a general manager who's got that KPI in his monthly target?
A great question, thank you. So we've done it on multiple levels. So first and foremost, the KPI we put in during COVID was in terms of retention, and it was retention measured not only per hotel but by department. A significant, and again, I go back to tables. It's very, very simple for me. I've got enough data to be able to say, hang on a second, turnover in reception is X. In this hotel, it's X multiplied by 2. Yeah, they have the same training, the same culture, everything, the same systems and everything we've got there. What is it? Ultimately, it was leadership. So it gave us the opportunity to review the leadership. Is it that the leader was put into a role? And again, it's about us taking responsibility. During COVID, we lost an entire tranche of managers. So junior managers had to step up into that vacuum. If they weren't performing adequately in that role, it wasn't their issue. It was our issue. Yeah, they were admirably doing everything they possibly could. So it helped us understand where the needs were, and again, back to gap analysis and where it came. So having a look at it in molecular detail, and not just allowing it to be, oh, well, that's how the industry is. No, it isn't. Your colleague in that hotel. And for us, it was celebrating the success rather than pulling down the ones who weren't there. And then after that now, so one of the things that we're now reporting on, what percentage of the workforce is promoted? And that is, so you actually, on their bonus KPI, they get an accelerator if they promote somebody to another property. So and it's all, for any of you know the insights, I'm blue, so I just can't have enough detail on charts. So that's the driver. So we've worked it all out. Every time you promote somebody, every time somebody moves to another area, we've even weighted it. So if I lose an entry-level person, we multiply the time they've been in position, the importance of the role, and also we give accreditation for how many future roles we think they're able for. So if I have 2 people who are equal, and I've identified John is in position, yeah, and John's doing a great job, John gets a score of 1. If Mary is there, and Mary's at the beginning of her career, and we think, wow, she's going to be a great GM, okay, we count the number of levels she can move potentially, and we give a scoring. So if a GM loses John, he gets a negative amount of years multiplied by experience multiplied by potential. But if he loses Mary, he really feels it because we've identified Mary as being really, really important to the organization. Yeah, and it's just little tweaks on all of that, but it's all data-based. We've removed all of the emotion, and it's not, oh, he's a great chap. Okay, please. How are they performing? What are they doing? Where's the potential? But also making their leaders accountable and giving them credit.
Great, thank you. That was a fantastic question. Is there anyone else?
Thank you. Anna, you briefly mentioned the loneliness that you get. Maybe a question to all of you, as you're at the top of the tree or thereabouts, do you experience loneliness being in the position that you're in, and who do you reach out to mentor you at this stage?
Yes, I do. And it's not only loneliness, I would say. It's not constant. It's just the moments. And sometimes I just feel that, oh my God, I know nothing. Or what do I do now? I just pick up the phone and call my colleagues. I call my friends in the industry, and I just talk. I just say, listen, I have this situation. What would you do? What would you say? Or can you give me an advice, please, if possible? Don't laugh, something like that. Yes, but I think it's normal, and I think we just should talk about that because, yeah.
When I was working on one of my work experiences, the head barman always said to me, he said, one thing you need to understand if you want to be a general manager, the king always eats alone. So I've had plenty of years to develop that and understand it. I'm an introvert. I'm quite happy eating my sandwich at my desk. Although as the results of my first 360 last week have said, I went into the staff restaurant for the first time in the 3 years I've been in the building. But again, going back to the mentorship, I need to reach out more, and that's on my personal development plan because I'm still held accountable, and that was the feedback I received. So there's my confession. Thank you very much.
And we have time for one last question. Or sorry, Oliver, did you want to?
It can be a very lowly place, of course, being a general manager at the top, and because there are some things you just can't talk to your team about. There's some things that are only to be spoken with whoever you're reporting to. But I put myself back in with the team as often as I can, whether that's on the floor. I was last Friday. I was commie chef. We were a bit short and I was behind the pass doing the vegetables and gravy, a function of 100, and loved it. And it kind of makes you forget that loneliness almost. Actually, is quite humbling to do it. But yeah, no, I don't think there's ever anything getting away because there are certain things you just can't talk to your team about. And they shouldn't be asking you, So, but I suppose, but you're right, Anna. Our industry, I'm very fortunate. I've got a lot of industry friends and colleagues, and I'm regularly in touch with them. So I don't feel perhaps as lonely as I used to. But yeah.
Okay, so we just have time for one more question before we wrap up. So it's.
Hi, good morning. A bit of an open question for whoever wants to answer, really, but with all the focus on the adaptability and the empathy that the current leadership need to show in order to develop and nurture the future leadership, how do we instill the sense of discipline and the side of leadership which nobody really likes dealing with?
You going to pick that one up, Oliver?
Yeah. I think, well, it's easy, isn't it? You have to be very, very clear with them what you want. And yes, there may have been greater discipline once upon a time. There might be in a different sort of way. But as long as they are delivering what you're asking, I think we can only sort of accept that's the way. They might go about it a different way. But if you're very like the KPIs, if you're very, very, very clear about what the KPIs are, whether it's quality, customer satisfaction, whether it's the profit, whether it's the team, whether sustainability, as long as you're absolutely clear about that, and you're getting those achievements, those goals, then you're doing a great thing with it. If you're talking about the younger generation, I think you are. They just want it. They want it to be clear. They want to be clear and understand and really understand and know what you want them to achieve.
Okay, I think just on that, the analogy I draw with the team when I'm talking to the general managers in particular is visualize it as a river. Okay, the direction of that river is your culture, your policy, your standards, how you behave, and everything else. So if somebody is swimming against the river, they stand out immediately. But you make sure you do everything you possibly can that they want to A, get in the river, get their feet wet, and B, they want to go in the direction of travel. So it's not about isolating those who don't, but if your system is robust enough, if it's strong enough, you've understood who you are, who your customer is, what your values are, who your team members are, ideal behaviors, then in an ideal world, and on most of this, guys, I will give a caveat, and anyone can call me out on it, we're a work in progress. exactly as I said in terms of 2023. You could come into my hotels, you'd see this absolutely living in some of them, you'd see it barely breathing in the others. Okay, but the great thing about that is, and it's the honesty in terms of saying, understand where you are, understand where the gaps are, and collectively we'll all head in the right direction.
And anything you'd like to add, Anna? Or
Well, just to touch about the discipline, I always think no one really wants to come or wakes up in the morning and thinks, okay, I'll go to work and I will misbehave and I will do everything disruptive and I'm not going to do the good job. It's something happened to that person on that particular day, or maybe there was not mentoring or like proper way for that person in place prior to the action, or something happened. So yeah, there is a conversation, there is a KPI, there is an SOP. We know what the measures, how we measure the performance, and then we just go from there.
Great.
Yeah.
Right. We've got 90 seconds left on the clock, so I'd like the audience to have something to take away. So if my fantastic panel were to give everyone one top tip they could bring into their businesses and implement tomorrow to develop the future hospitality leaders, what would it be? And we'll start with you, Anna.
I probably will be very, I would say communication, just talk to your people. Like for me that's the most important.
Fantastic.
Just to understand them.
Okay, and Daniel.
Be comfortable being uncomfortable. I just mentioned earlier, we touched on, we've just introduced 360 for the first time. I had to stand up in front of my team yesterday and confess all of my sins, acknowledge what I did. The only difference being I wasn't sent outside to get 2 decades of the rosary. Just be comfortable being uncomfortable.
And last but certainly not least, Oliver.
Well, quite controversially, I will say ditch the values and vision statements that are this long, because they won't read them. I've taken it actually through my businesses, 10 golden rules, really, really quick values like #respect, ask for help, support each other, that sort of thing. It's the language they understand. They will not read a great big glossary of words which have been developed in a marketing office. So yeah, that's
Brilliant. And I think, ladies and gentlemen, that is a perfect place to end. Thank you, Oliver, Daniel, and Anna. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And goodbye.